In 1975, Lionel Trains produced an unusual uncataloged EMD F3 diesel. It was a single-powered diesel. There was no matching B unit or dummy A unit to accompany it. There were no passenger cars made to run behind it, nor even a special freight train. Just a single F3 and a red, white, and blue color scheme with Preamble Express emblazoned upon the nose. Let's take a closer look at this unusual model and the history it represents. Hello again, this is Mike with another episode of Toy Train Tips and Tricks. When General Mills took over the production of Lionel Trains in 1970, they were forced, for the most part, to begin where the post-war era had left off in terms of details and features of their diesel locomotives, and the early General Mills MPC F3 models were no exception. These were single-motor models that had nearly all of the details of the original 1948 number 2333 F3s stripped from them. No horn sounds, no portholes, no grab irons. Still, they were the only new F3s available at the time, and collectors and operators alike quickly snatched up reissues of classic B&O Canadian Pacific and Rio Grande F3s, as well as new offerings like Amtrak in AA and later ABA configurations. In 1975, the uncatalogued number 68568 Preamble Express F3 appeared. But what exactly was the Preamble Express? As the United States approached its bicentennial in 1976, special observances and celebrations were planned to coincide with the anniversary. Among these was the American Freedom Train. The Freedom Train was planned and executed by a nonprofit organization with the goal of assembling a steam-powered train to tour the nation, carrying historical artifacts from various museums and private collections and display them at cities and towns large and small, essentially bringing American history and its artifacts to the people who may not have had the opportunity or the means to visit the Smithsonian Institution, for example. As the first American Freedom Train tour was scheduled to begin in 1975, organizers needed a way to recruit the support of businesses, local and state governments, and like-minded charitable organizations to support the Freedom Train and to plan the necessary logistical and support needs of a display visit. That solution was the Preamble Express. Beginning on July 5, 1974, the Preamble Express, a four-car train led initially by Delaware and Hudson U-23B number 2312 in bicentennial colors, began a tour of more than 75 cities and towns to facilitate meetings with these necessary stakeholders ahead of the American Freedom Train tours. The four cars were all formerly of Reading heritage. Three had previously served in the 1960s as the Permacell Express, a traveling classroom and sales center for Johnson & Johnson's Permacell line of industrial tape products. Later, the cars were sold and became the Spring-Made Special, and with the addition of the fourth car, were used for various sales, educational, and promotional activities for that company. After their service on the Preamble Express, the cars were used on the American Freedom Train, and then were later sold to British Columbia Railway and served as part of its steam locomotive excursion fleet. When General Motors signed on as a corporate sponsor for the Freedom Train, it was decided that a GM locomotive should lead the Preamble Express, and Union Pacific E9 number 951 was quickly repainted into a special bicentennial-themed color scheme for the train, and it began its duties in early August 1974. The Preamble Express completed its tour on November 14, 1974 at Camden, New Jersey. Jumping on board the publicity train, so to speak, Lionel decided to create a Preamble Express model of its own. With no E models in the catalog, Lionel used the closest model available, the classic F3, to represent the real number 951. Other than the much shorter length of the F3, Lionel's model is actually a fairly good representation of the paint scheme of the number 951. Lionel could conceivably have produced a four-car baby Madison passenger set to accompany the F3, but they decided not to do so, and the 8568 was an orphan. At shows, I have seen B units and matching A units painted in Preamble Express colors, but these are all custom repaints, not original factory models. There may have been a prototype test model of a Preamble Express B unit produced, but the authenticity of the model is a matter of debate among Lionel collectors. Comparing the Preamble Express to a number 2353 post-war F3, there are a few visual differences. The two-piece horns on the 2353 changed to a one-piece assembly. Add-on ladder details on the Santa Fe were eliminated completely on the MPC edition. The clear portholes on the early version were enclosed on the later version, and the 3 forward louver details disappeared from each side to make decoration easier. A small nub was added to the roof of the MPC version to provide greater structural support for the shell. On the nose, the small lower louvers also disappeared, and the pilot design was changed, actually for the better, I think. The rear details are virtually identical, and both models feature non-operating rear couplers. Operationally, the Preamble Express is similar to a late post-war single-motor F3. Under the hood, a single open-frame universal motor powers the rear truck. A standard 3-position reverse unit and a headlight complete the electrical components. With the help of traction tires, the Preamble Express is a mid-grade puller, topping out at around 5 aluminum passenger cars or 10 to 12 modern freight cars. The model has no difficulty whatsoever navigating 027 curves or Lionel turnouts made after 1952. Despite being an uncataloged model and its special decoration, the Preamble Express is typically the least expensive Lionel F3 in the resale market, often selling for less than $100. Lionel's number 8568 was the only factory-made O-gauge model of the Preamble Express available until 2000, when K-Line made a version led by an Alco FA. Lionel finally produced a scale version of the train with a correct EMD unit in 2020. As for the real train, after serving on the Preamble Express, Delaware and Hudson number 2312 was repainted into the road's standard solid blue colors and served in regular freight service into the mid-1980s. Union Pacific number 951 was returned to the UP, but remained in Preamble Express colors until 1978, serving as the only bicentennial-themed locomotive on the UP roster. It was then repainted in standard armor yellow and still serves today as part of UP's heritage fleet. And as a side note, there was another American Freedom train that operated from 1947 to 1949, led by white Alco PA diesels. But that is another story for another day. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and if so, please like the video, share it, and leave us a comment. Keep the trains running, and we'll see you next time on Toy Train Tips and Tricks.